The Arizona Cardinals must not only match the aggression level of the New York Jets on Sunday, but they need to supersede it. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Been in sports media in Phoenix since 2011, been knows this podcast for 8 seasons now, since 2017. And this is the most fun that I've had. All of it. All of it. I've interviewed some great people, some great players, celebrities, everything. I think this is the most fun stretch that I've had. Even though the 7-0 and 10-2 season, we know how that winded up. I always knew that that was kind of fugazi. This feels real. For the first time, this feels real. And we'll see on Sunday against the Jets as the Cardinals try to inch their way into the playoff conversation, which is wild to think with the roster is currently constructed. Moving to 6-4 before the bye week would be absolutely bananas. It'd be absolutely insane. So the Cardinals need to do some things. They can't do others. They can't do list. Final segment. Let the offense be the offense. That's the second segment I'll discuss. And the Cardinals must match the aggression of the New York Jets and supersede it. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. So what do I mean by must match aggression? Pretty simple. They must match the aggression of the Jets. Nailed it. Hashtag analysis. The Jets are a hard-hitting defense. They've got 2, 3, 4 of the better defensive players in the NFL, namely Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams in the interior of the defensive line, who's been an absolute terror the last handful of games. The Cardinals are starting to gain respect around the NFL, like solidified respect. And respect from the outside doesn't really matter. Really, all that matters is what's in the walls of State Farm Stadium and the practice facility down in Chandler. But gaining the respect of the peers in the NFL is something that was so far-fetched you couldn't even define it a couple years ago. And part of that respect that has been gained is how the Cardinals are playing on game day. They're playing with a contained, reckless abandon. They're harder hitting than they've been in quite some time. They run harder. They play harder. It's just obvious. And this is a fantastic test for this team coming off a 6-sack performance last week against the Swiss cheese offensive line of the Chicago Bears. To where if they can replicate that, play the smash mouth football that we're starting to see become more of the norm and the exception to the rule, the Cardinals are going to move to 6-4 and have a well-deserved bye week. Like, bye weeks in the past have been, oh, thank God, it's the bye week. You could stop whatever, negative train that's going on. This is like Christmas. If the Cardinals get a dub on Sunday, this would be Christmas come early. Everybody gets to rest. They get to chill and just watch the rest of the NFL, NFC primarily, start to take shape for another week when they're not playing football. And it is going to be so fascinating to see what the defensive game plan is going to be. With the aggression part, outside of James Conner on offense, and outside of the offensive line, which I'll discuss in the next segment, this is primarily aggression on defense. They've got a murderer's row of skill position players. I mean, Breece Hall, Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, Braylon Allen is nothing to sneeze at as a 20-year-old backup running back. Tyler Conklin, no slub. But their weakness is the offensive line. And Aaron Rodgers' inability to be as mobile as he was in his 30s, he will be a sitting duck behind the line of scrimmage like he's been for the entirety of the season so far. So matching aggression, you're looking at Kyzir White and Mack Wilson, who've been terrors this year. Budda Baker, is having a renaissance contract year. He's always played this hard, but it's just funny how things, let me put it this way. It's funny how Budda Baker can produce when the rest of the defense is producing. He's always been so undervalued numbers-wise because he's had to be the stopgap for a lack of talent in the secondary, a lack of pass rush, and lack of real talent, especially from the off-ball linebacker position before they signed Kyzir White. He's had to be the janitor for this defense for the last handful of years. And now, where there are pieces that are actually producing at an average to slightly above average level, he can just play free safety and be the terror that he's always been. And you're starting to see it. So with the aggression meter, he's always number one. He's always leading everybody out of the tunnel, not proverbially, I mean. So when you go up against this set of skill position players, Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, namely, and Breece Hall, smacking them in the mouth, whether it be bump and run coverage, whether it be getting to Aaron Rodgers before, run routes or routes can be actually run and he can go through his progression. If the Cardinals can take the head off the snake again, like they did with Caleb Williams last week, we're going to be looking at 6-4 for this team. And I mentioned this last week, and it kind of happened. It wasn't like a Clint Stradamus situation, which I've had. If you're going to make mistakes, make them big on defense. Who cares? Be opportunistic. The way to tip the scales in the favor of a team that's less talented on one side of the ball is being opportunistic and maximizing on those opportunities. 6 sacks last week. That's being opportunistic. Mack Wilson and Budda Baker, 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, just running after Caleb Williams, who's running for his life, ending up getting a sack. Like, exotic blitz packages is where they need to eat for the remainder of the season. And we'll see where Baron Browning comes into play. Darius Robinson doesn't seem like he's going to play. Jonathan Gannon said, paraphrasing, that he hasn't had any sort of setback. Just not ready yet. So we'll see if it's this week. At this point, maybe he makes his debut in week 12 after another week of rest on the bye week. It's going to be fascinating to see what Baron Browning can do with a pass rush that in a vacuum, pass rush by itself, hasn't been great. Zaven Collins had a sack and a half or 2 sacks last week, which is great. Like, if you get any sort of production from Zaven Collins, it's great. And this is, I don't think I've used the word aggressive to describe this team since 2017. Like, using the word aggressive. They haven't been aggressive. They haven't been feared by how hard they hit. And they're trending towards that now, which is a fantastic, it's a fantastic thing. So if the Cardinals can match and supersede the New York Jets' aggression on both sides of the ball on Sunday, they will be well in line to move to 6-4 on the season. The Jets on offense aren't really a smash mouth team. They're very not. How about that? How's that for hashtag analysis? They're more, I don't know. They're not a smash mouth team. And if this defense can overwhelm them, it's going to put the offense in a great position to succeed. And I'm going to tell you right now, let the offense be the offense. I'll discuss what I mean next. Locked On Cardinals, your team, yours every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Arena Club. For most of us that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on like a Luka, Ellie, or Mahomes rookie card just isn't in the cards. And I love collecting, but that's some serious money to drop. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com, now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. And every card that I listed was hit from last week's Arena Club pack. And Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Arena Club slab packs are revolutionary just idea in the repack game with transparency. After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed into your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction, because safety is super important. Now, right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL, code LockedOnNFL for 10% off your first purchase. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by our friends at Hims. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products, which are not approved or verified for safety or effectiveness from the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscriptions required. Price varied based on product and subscription plan. The defense needs to be aggressive. This is a full show party for the Cardinals. It is a full show party for the Cardinals because whether you like it or not, the Jets have an aura around them this year where everybody's eyes are going to be on them. People want to see him fail. People want to see him succeed, whatever it is. The Aaron Rodgers aura is real, and the Cardinals have an opportunity to really represent what the future is going to look like in the present. Like, there's no going back from this kind of statement game. This is a different team, a different trajectory, and they've done that at times this year. They've looked terrible at times, Green Bay, Washington. But this is a statement game, and it's not because it's Aaron Rodgers. It's not because it's Davante Adams, and they're a sexy team and all this blah, blah, blah. It's none of that. It's the avatar that is a team like the Jets and an avatar that is the Arizona Cardinals going against each other. One team on a downward trajectory, one team on an upward trajectory, where when the season started, everybody thought it'd be flipped. This is a perfect time for the Cardinals to seize an opportunity to move to 6-4 in a statement game fashion and take a week the hell off and chill before coming back in week 12. Now, part of that is the offense, naturally. Let the offense be the offense. What do I mean? This offense is multifaceted. It's got 9 different faces, and we don't know which one's going to show up on any sort of given day. And not that the other portions don't show up. It's the offense is the dictionary definition this year of take what the defense is giving to you. And we saw Houston and New York last week. Houston ran all over this Jets defense, all over. So this is a perfect time for a game with the Jets for a couple reasons on offense. One, James Conner's playing at an elite level, but more importantly, they have a rush attack without Kyler Murray. This is something that I've been waiting for, that I've been pining for. This means, I said this before the season started, if the Cardinals have a bona fide rush attack without Kyler Murray, they're winning games. And that's pretty obvious, but it's fantastic where Kyler Murray doesn't have to do it to move the ball down the field, which is great. Kyler Murray doesn't have to do it to save an offense, to save the game. Now, we saw him against the Chargers break one off on a broken play. We saw one of the first plays of the game against the 49ers where he housed it. But last week, it wasn't him. It was he had 6 yards rushing. It was 207 yards from James Conner, Trey Benson, and Emari Demercado. Even take away the touchdown run by Emari Demercado to end the half, even if that was a 10-yard gain, something like that. Now, obviously, you want the points, and that may be a dumb example. But my point is that the younger guys, the backup guys, are showing that they're really starting to get the juices flowing in this offense. Namely, Trey Benson, because he's the one they spent their first, third-round pick on out of Florida State. People were very high on him coming out of college, and it seemed like a steal that the Cardinals got him in the third round. If the Cardinals have some sort of three-headed monster in the backfield, 55, 60% James Conner and 25, 15, whatever the split is, whoever the hot back is, whether it be Trey Benson or Emari Demercado, if they're able to both be effective, Cardinals are going to win. If the Cardinals are going to run for over 170 yards, 150 yards on the ground, and then still have that pass attack that opposing defenses are going to have to, be a little bit lazier on because you're trying to stop the run. This is where the flow state of this offense is. Keeping opposing defenses on their heels to the point where they need to pick their poison on which portion of the Cardinals' offense they want to stop. If you have light boxes against this team, they're going to run all over you. The offensive line is playing better than it has definitely since Kyler Murray has been drafted. And I would say we're bordering on last 10 years, the best offensive line the Cardinals have had. And it's with two dudes on the right side of the offensive line that have been out for the year. We'll see if Jonah Williams plays. Kelvin Beachum has been great. Put some respect on Kelvin Beachum's name, okay? Tristan Colon, who stepped in at right guard last week, played great. Yalta Furholt, vision. You want him, that contract extension that he got wasn't paid enough. He's been fantastic. Evan Brown, have you heard his name this year? Nope. Played really well. Paris Johnson Jr., left tackle for the future. This is how teams are built. This is how you win a lot of games in the NFL. And it's been boring. And it wasn't Will Anderson at 3. Oh. And it wasn't the receiver that you wanted last year. Oh. It wasn't a pass rusher they signed. The offensive line is the best offensive line it's been in the last 10 years. I'm sorry that was the byproduct of it. They're not close to filling out the entire roster, but this offensive line has been an absolute chef's kiss. On top of, and I said chef's kiss, whoever commented in, if you tell me not to say something, I'm going to pepper it. You're going to get your shout out, and then I'll eventually get bored and I won't say it anymore. You get your shout out. I should have known that your handle for YouTube. That's on me. On top of that, Kyler Murray's really maturing as a quarterback. And yeah, it's taken a little bit longer. He was in purgatory for 4 years with Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know why that's so difficult to understand, the difference between Kyler Murray with Cliff and Kyler Murray with Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing. I don't understand it. Kyler Murray, the game, it's slowed. He's not frantic in the pocket nearly as much. The game is slow because he's, first of all, getting time. They're getting depth in the pocket with Yalta Furholt and the interior of the offensive line doing their job. He's much more methodical. He's not perfect yet. He's never going to be perfect. He's never going to be 6'3" Joe Burrow, 6'3" Lamar Jackson. He's never going to be that. It's going to be different, and that's fine. And you notice that I haven't mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. once. I haven't mentioned Trey McBride once. We know, because from what we've seen the last handful of weeks specifically, the way to beat the Jets is running the ball. So let the offense be the offense. That's why there's 11 players. That's why there are running backs and wide receivers. You expose the defense's weakness. That's how you win games, exposing the opposing team's weaknesses and just hammering it home. I would like to see Trey Benson getting a couple more series on Sunday if he's able to start to move the ball. I think getting him in the game earlier may be beneficial. Maybe not on the second series, but maybe on the third offensive series. You don't have to wait until the second half. He's a guy you want to get the juices flowing, even if it's for a carry on first down or a screen pass or something like that early on to get him into the game. I think it would be beneficial. But all in all, running the game, running the ball, sets up everything for Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. Trey McBride has elevated to tight end 1 status Marvin Harrison Jr., we'll see what happens. He's still just a piece of this offense, which is fine for a rookie wide receiver who wasn't drafted to win or who wasn't drafted to save the offense. Look what's happened. Have you heard from Malik Neighbors last couple weeks? Oh, is he not better because he had 200-yard receiving games for an offense that has no other weapons? Oh, darn it. Maybe chill out before we crown people. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be fine. Let the offense be the offense. Don't question, Kyler Murray only threw for 140 yards. Yeah, did the Cardinals win and did they run for over 200 yards? Yeah. See the big picture. Not just narrow in on one thing that could be a negative. Cardinals are playing on house money. Be excited. You know me. If I'm going way long on this segment. Sorry. You've known me every day, as you know me since 2017. If you listen to sports radio in Phoenix, Fox Sports, or NBC, wherever I was, I've been down on this team forever because nobody holds them accountable. Just hammering them all of 2017, all of 2018. And then now, there are actual good things happening. And it's not one dictionary definition of what good offense is supposed to look like. Let the offense be the offense. What can't the Cardinals do on Sunday if they want to beat the Jets? I'll discuss that next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality candidates and professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just a job board, man. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. And in a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You don't have to go open up a bunch of different Google tabs. It shows you right there before you want to put some cheese down. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I'm jacked up for Sunday, man. This is a big one. And it's not because it's the Jets. It's because where it is on the calendar. It's a home game. They only have 3 home games after the bye, I believe. This is where momentum is built. I know Jonathan Gannon doesn't believe in momentum. It's not necessarily momentum in wins and losses. It's momentum in proof of concept for scheme, how you play on game days, and how the offense can figure out multiple ways to beat a defense. The things the Cardinals cannot do on Sunday. 1, the big play. This team isn't equipped for a Davante Adams 75-yard touchdown catch. This is going to be a massive game for the safeties. A massive game for Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, and Rabbit if he sees some action. Massive, massive, massive. Max Melton, even though he got targeted almost 10 times last week, had a pretty good outing, all things considered. Garrett Williams, bona fide CB1. The Cardinals found their dude. I'm guessing, this is going to be tough. I don't know if they're going to bracket Max Melton with Garrett Wilson and Jalen Thompson. I would assume that, here's the thing. Do they leverage Garrett Williams on Davante Adams? Because I still view Davante Adams. Davante Adams is the bigger big play threat. Garrett Wilson is a wildly talented receiver. Wildly, wildly talented receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr. had glowing reviews when they spent time together at OSU. That sounded weird coming out of your mouth. You have to say Ohio State. OSU, that's not right. It is right, but it's not. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they bracket coverage with those two bona fide wide receiver ones. It'll be fascinating to see. And then Breece Hall is a big play machine waiting to happen. The biggest scare that I have going into Sunday is a screen pass to Breece Hall for 70 yards to the house. We saw Davante Adams do it. DeAndre Swift was held at bay for the majority of the game. They didn't score a touchdown, so that's obvious. But Davante Adams ate him up in Miami. And Breece Hall, I think, is better in space than Davante Adams. Davante Adams is probably faster, but I don't know. Screen passes, Breece Hall, house. Those are things you don't want in the same sentence on Sunday. Number 2, they must get after Aaron Rodgers. And I think this is an obvious one, but getting after Aaron Rodgers and actually sacking him. I said last week, pressures are fine. Fluster the rookie, Caleb Williams, and they did. Getting to Aaron Rodgers and getting him on the ground, needing to complete sacks for Aaron Rodgers is more important than just pressures. He can handle pressures. He's still a wizard, even if he's 70% of what he was. Getting him on the ground, not hurting him, whatever. That I never root for anybody to get hurt. But the aggression, flying at Aaron Rodgers, making him make mistakes, which he rarely does. I mean, he'll throw some picks here and there, but more times than not, he's efficient. And number 3, they haven't done this for the majority of the last 6 weeks. Eat the bleep out of the clock. And this isn't because the Jets are a powerhouse or anything like that. Controlling the clock at home is massive, especially if you're going to be a run-first team. Like they're set to expose the weakness of the Jets defense, which is running the ball. And last one, which the Cardinals are best in the league, I believe, knock on wood, they're still 100% in goal-to-go touchdown scores. Touchdowns, not field goals. And they've been great this year. Touchdowns, not field goals. It's been fantastic. They've got all the weapons in the world. James Conner is one of the best. Kyler Murray hasn't needed to throw him in there recently. I mean, Trey McBride, I would probably pencil him in for his first receiving touchdown of the year. Marvin Harrison Jr. is great. Michael Wilson's been a great red zone threat. Greg Dortch caught a touchdown pass recently. Touchdowns, not field goals. That's it. I don't know if the Cardinals are going to win this game. The one thing that can't have happen is 27-10 loss. It won't gut anything that the Cardinals have done. 5-5 would be a hell of a way to go into the bye week. But 6-4, we're having different conversations for the entirety of next week, and I would love for that to happen. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you Monday.